For over 60 years, Dolly Parton and Carl Dean shared a love story unlike any other in the entertainment world. While Dolly became a global icon, Carl stayed out of the spotlight, leaving many to question if he even existed. But now, after decades of unwavering support, tragedy has struck. Carl Dean has passed away at 82. How is Dolly coping with the loss of the man who stood by her side for a lifetime? Let's uncover the untold story. The first meeting, love at first sight? In the summer of 1964, a young, ambitious Dolly Parton had just arrived in Nashville, eager to chase her dreams in country music. At just 18, she was brimming with excitement, unaware that one ordinary afternoon would change the course of her personal life forever. That day, as she walked into the Wishy Washy laundromat, she had no idea that fate had something unexpected in store for her. Leaning against his white Chevrolet pickup truck was Carl Dean, a 21-year-old man with no interest in the glitz and glamour of Nashville's music scene. He was the opposite of everything Dolly was, a reserved, deeply private man who preferred a quiet life away from the spotlight. But for some reason, when he saw her, something clicked. In a moment that seemed almost scripted for a romance novel, Carl boldly approached her, struck by her presence. Dolly, in her own words, found it ironic. He was usually shy and avoided talking to strangers, yet there he was, completely captivated by her. They struck up a conversation, and within minutes there was an undeniable spark. Carl wasted no time. He invited Dolly to meet his family that very evening. It was an unusual, almost reckless move for someone as private as Carl, but somehow he knew this woman was different. Their connection was immediate, yet unconventional. Unlike most rising stars who sought partners within the entertainment industry, Dolly found herself drawn to someone completely removed from the world she was about to enter. And Carl, despite having no interest in fame, knew he wanted to be part of her life. As their relationship blossomed, it became clear that their love story would be anything but ordinary. But how did a woman destined for superstardom build a marriage with a man who wanted nothing to do with the spotlight? That's where things got even more fascinating. A love hidden from the public eye. For most celebrity couples, love is something to be displayed. Red carpet appearances, magazine covers, extravagant vacations documented for the world to see. But for Dolly Parton and Carl Dean, love was meant to be protected. From the very beginning, Carl made one thing clear. He loved Dolly, but he wanted no part of her fame. It wasn't a matter of pride or jealousy. He simply despised attention. While Dolly thrived in the limelight, Carl found it suffocating. He didn't want to be known as Dolly Parton's husband or have cameras flashing in his face every time he stepped outside. He had his own identity, one that had nothing to do with show business. Dolly respected his wishes even when the world didn't understand. Over the years, Carl became something of a mystery, so absent from public life that rumors started swirling that he didn't exist. Some speculated that Dolly had invented him as a publicity stunt, a fabricated husband to keep up appearances while she lived the glamorous life of a single woman. The tabloids went wild with theories, each one more ridiculous than the last. But Dolly didn't care. She and Carl had something stronger than public perception. Their love wasn't built on Instagram posts or press interviews. It was built on quiet moments, inside jokes, and a deep understanding of each other's needs. She always said that keeping her marriage private was the key to making it last. And as the years went on, she proved her point. Yet no matter how hard they tried to shield their relationship, they couldn't escape the scrutiny that came with fame. And soon, their love story was tested by one of the most infamous rumors in country music history, the story behind Jolene. Was Carl Dean even real? The bizarre rumors. As the years went by and Dolly's fame soared to new heights, one strange question refused to go away. Was Carl Dean even real? The country music world had seen its fair share of publicity stunts, and many simply refused to believe that a superstar like Dolly could be married to a man who had never been photographed, never attended her public events, and never given a single interview. The whispers began in the 1970s and only grew louder with time. Fans dissected every interview, looking for inconsistencies. If Carl truly existed, why was he nowhere to be found? Why hadn't he accompanied Dolly to an awards show, a concert, or even a casual dinner outing? Surely, a husband would want to be seen with his wife. Dolly, of course, found the rumors hilarious. She often joked that Carl was like the Loch Ness Monster. People had heard about him, but no one had actually seen him. She playfully admitted that Carl was a homebody who preferred his own company to a room full of strangers. He loved his quiet life, his simple routines, and his privacy above all else. The speculation reached its peak when some conspiracy theorists suggested that Dolly had made him up entirely, using him as a cover for a different kind of personal life. But in reality, Carl was simply a man who valued his solitude. Even as Dolly tried to dispel the myths, he remained committed to staying out of the public eye. And perhaps nothing proved that more than the one and only time Carl Dean stepped into the spotlight, an event so rare that it would never happen again. The song that sparked controversy was Jolene Real. By the time Dolly released Jolene in the early 1970s, she was already one of the biggest names in country music. But this song, this haunting, pleading melody, struck a different chord. It told the story of a woman begging another to leave her man alone, a desperate cry of insecurity and heartbreak. Fans were immediately obsessed. But they also had questions. Was Jolene based on real events? Had Carl Dean, the elusive husband, been unfaithful? Was this song a coded confession of betrayal? Dolly never shied away from the truth. Yes, Jolene was inspired by a real woman, a strikingly beautiful red-headed bank teller who used to flirt with Carl. Dolly admitted that the teller had a bit of a crush on her husband and would always give him extra attention when he came in. It became an inside joke between them. Dolly would tease Carl, saying, "You sure are making a lot of trips to the bank lately." But was there actual infidelity? Dolly insisted no. Carl may have enjoyed the flattery, but he never crossed the line. The song was born not from real heartbreak, but from Dolly's playful imagination. She took a small, innocent moment and turned it into one of the greatest country songs of all time. Yet, despite her explanation, the rumors persisted. Fans speculated that Dolly was downplaying the truth, that Carl had indeed strayed. But whether or not Jolene was a true confession, one thing was certain. Dolly had a way of turning even the most ordinary moments into legendary music. And as the years passed, one lingering question remained. If Jolene was about the fear of losing a man, what about the one thing Dolly and Carl never had? Children. The child they never had. Was it a choice? For many married couples, children are an expected chapter in their love story, a natural step in building a family. But for Dolly Parton and Carl Dean, that chapter was one that never came to be. From the outside, it seemed like an unusual choice. Dolly had the warmth, charm, and nurturing spirit of a mother, and with her immense wealth, she could have provided any child with a dream life. So why did she and Carl never have kids? At first, they assumed it would happen naturally. When they got married in the spring of 1966, they thought children would come along in time. They weren't avoiding it, and they certainly weren't against the idea. But as the years passed and Dolly's career skyrocketed, their reality started to shift. She was on the road constantly, working non-stop to establish herself in the industry. The idea of balancing motherhood with her relentless schedule became overwhelming. Then, in the early 1980s, Dolly faced a health crisis that changed everything. She was diagnosed with endometriosis, a painful condition that led to her having a partial hysterectomy. It was a devastating realization. Biologically, she would never be able to carry a child. For a time, she fell into a deep depression, questioning everything. Would Carl be disappointed? Would she regret not making more time for motherhood when she had the chance? But Carl, ever the steady and supportive husband, reassured her that their love was enough. They didn't need children to complete their marriage. And over time, Dolly came to believe that fate had led her down a different path. Instead of raising children of her own, she poured her love into the world, mentoring young artists, supporting countless charities, and even creating the Imagination Library, which has given millions of books to children worldwide. Still, the absence of children in their marriage only fueled more speculation, adding yet another layer to the mystery that surrounded their private life. But one thing remains certain: Dolly and Carl's love never wavered, no matter what challenges came their way. The secret to their unbreakable bond. What makes a marriage last for 6 decades, especially in the unpredictable, often destructive world of fame? For Dolly and Carl, the secret wasn't grand gestures or extravagant gifts. It was the small, everyday moments that kept their love alive. Unlike most celebrity relationships where both partners share the spotlight, Dolly and Carl lived in 2 completely different worlds. She was on stage, dazzling audiences with her music, while he was back home in Nashville, running his paving business and enjoying his quiet life. On paper, it shouldn't have worked, but that separation, as strange as it seemed, was exactly what made their relationship strong. Dolly often joked that their secret was simple: I stay gone a lot. She knew that spending too much time together could cause friction, so their relationship thrived in its own unique rhythm. When she was on tour, Carl had his space. When she was home, they cherished their time together. It was a balance that worked perfectly for them. But beyond that, their bond was built on humor. Carl had a dry, sarcastic wit that always made Dolly laugh. He never took her fame too seriously and often teased her about it. When she returned from a long tour, he wouldn't shower her with praise. He'd just say, "Well, you still look all right, I guess." It was this lightheartedness that kept their love fresh even after decades together. Dolly loved the spotlight and Carl hated it, but they never tried to change each other. Instead, they embraced their differences. He didn't need to be on stage with her to be part of her world. He was her rock, her steady anchor in the whirlwind of fame, and no matter how many rumors swirled around them, they always knew the truth. Their love was real and it was unbreakable. The final days, Carl Dean's last moments. March the 3rd, 2025 marked the end of an era. After nearly 60 years of marriage, Carl Dean took his final breath, leaving behind a love story that had captured the hearts of millions. For Dolly, the loss was devastating. Her rock, her best friend, the only man she had ever loved, gone. Though Carl had always been a private man, those closest to the couple knew that his health had been declining for some time. He had lived a full life, but the last few years had been difficult. Dolly, despite her busy schedule, spent as much time as she could by his side, making sure he was comfortable. She never spoke publicly about his illness, choosing instead to protect his privacy until the very end. When the news broke, fans around the world mourned alongside Dolly. Tributes poured in from country music legends, fellow celebrities, and even political figures, all acknowledging the incredible bond the two shared. But as public as the mourning was, Dolly herself remained silent in the immediate aftermath. Those who knew her best said it was because she was struggling to process the loss. For so many years, Carl had been her constant. Now she had to navigate life without him. Despite the grief, Dolly found a way to honor Carl in the way she knew best, through music. Just days after his passing, she took to social media to thank fans for their love and support, and in the weeks that followed, she released a song dedicated to him. It was a final love letter, a way of keeping his memory alive through the one thing that had defined her entire existence, her voice. But even as she tried to move forward, one question lingered. Would she ever find love again? Or was Carl Dean truly the only man she would ever love? Grieving in the public eye, how Dolly is coping. For most of her life, Dolly Parton had been known for her boundless energy, her infectious laughter, and her ability to turn even the saddest moments into something beautiful. But in the wake of Carl Dean's passing, something changed. For the first time, fans saw a version of Dolly that was quieter, more reflective, a woman grappling with an unimaginable loss. She withdrew from the public eye for a while, avoiding interviews and appearances. Even though she had spent her entire career performing in front of millions, this was different. This was personal. Losing Carl was not just losing a husband, it was losing the one person who had known her before she was famous, before the rhinestones and wigs, before the world saw her as an icon. He had loved her as Dolly Parton, the woman, not Dolly Parton, the star. Still, despite the pain, Dolly found ways to keep going. She turned to music, pouring her grief into songwriting. She leaned on friends, family, and faith to guide her through the darkest days. And she embraced the support of fans who had followed her journey for decades, reminding herself that Carl would have wanted her to keep shining. In one of her rare interviews following his passing, she said, "I don't know if I'll ever get over it, but I do know that Carl wouldn't want me to stop living." It was a heartbreaking admission, but also a testament to the resilience that had carried her through so many challenges before. Still, the question remained, would she ever love again? Could she even imagine a life with someone new? The world wanted to know, but only Dolly had the answer. The song that says it all, Dolly's tribute to Carl. Dolly Parton has always used music as her way of expressing the deepest parts of her soul. Whether it was heartbreak, joy, or nostalgia, she had a way of turning emotions into melodies that resonated with millions. So, when Carl Dean passed away, it was only a matter of time before she turned her grief into a song. A few weeks after his passing, Dolly surprised her fans with a deeply personal tribute, a song she had written just for Carl. It wasn't one of her signature upbeat anthems or a chart-topping hit meant for radio play. No, this song was different. It was raw, stripped down, and filled with the kind of love only she and Carl could understand. The lyrics spoke of their journey together, from the moment they met outside the laundromat in 1964 to the quiet night spent just the two of them, away from the flashing lights of Hollywood. When she performed it for the first time, there wasn't a dry eye in the audience. Her voice, usually so strong and full of life, wavered with emotion. Fans who had followed her career for decades could feel the weight of her loss in every note. It was a song not just about love, but about the kind of love that never fades, even after death. Music critics called it one of the most heartfelt songs of her career. Fans flooded social media with messages of support, sharing their own stories of love and loss. But for Dolly, the song wasn't about the public's reaction, it was about Carl. It was her way of speaking to him one last time, of saying the things she never got to say before he was gone. And yet, despite the overwhelming sadness of his passing, one question still lingered in the minds of many. Would Dolly ever open her heart to love again? Will Dolly ever love again? For more than 6 decades, Carl Dean was the only man in Dolly Parton's life. Unlike other celebrities who had multiple marriages or high-profile romances, Dolly's love story was different. It was steady, unwavering, and built on a foundation of deep friendship. But now that Carl was gone, the world couldn't help but wonder, would she ever love again? Dolly had addressed this question long before Carl's passing. In an interview from 1982, she had stated with certainty, "If Carl dies before me, I don't think I'd ever marry again. My love is that deep." At the time, many dismissed it as a sentimental statement, something people say when they're in love. But now, in the wake of Carl's death, those words took on a new meaning. Friends and colleagues close to Dolly said they couldn't imagine her with anyone else. She and Carl had been inseparable, even when they were physically apart. They understood each other in a way that didn't need words. To try and replace that, or even to find companionship in someone new, seemed almost impossible. But at the same time, life had a way of surprising people. Other women who had lost their lifelong partners, like Celine Dion or Priscilla Presley, had once said they could never love again, only to later find solace in unexpected places. Some fans speculated that Dolly, despite her insistence that Carl was the only one, might one day open her heart again. Yet for now, she seemed content in her solitude. She had her music, her friends, her faith, and a lifetime of memories that no one could take away. Whether she ever found love again or not, one thing was certain: her heart would always belong to Carl. But as she moved forward into this new chapter of her life, what would the future hold for her? Would she retreat into a quiet existence, or would she continue shining the way she always had? Conclusion: a love that never dies. Dolly Parton's love story with Carl Dean was not the kind the world expected. It wasn't built on grand public gestures, tabloid headlines, or Hollywood cliches. Instead, it was a quiet, unwavering love, one that existed beyond the cameras, beyond the fame, and beyond the expectations of the entertainment industry. Now, with Carl gone, that love hasn't disappeared. It lingers in the songs Dolly sings, in the stories she tells, and in the countless memories she holds close to her heart. Their love wasn't just a fleeting romance. It was a foundation, something that shaped her into the woman the world knows today. As she moves forward without him, one thing is certain: Dolly Parton will never be truly alone. Carl's presence will always be with her, whether in the echoes of their laughter, in the lyrics of her songs, or in the quiet moments when she looks back on their incredible journey together. But what do you think? Will Dolly ever move on from Carl's passing, or is their love truly one that will last forever? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that uncover the hidden truths behind the lives of legendary figures. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep celebrating the love stories that stand the test of time.